career. Inside the pocket, the last 2 years he's gotten better, yards per pass better, touchdown interception ratio better, and led the NFL in passer rating. Bro, do you expect Jalen Hurts to make another leap? Before you answer, Greg Jennings is here. Go ahead, bro.
I do expect him to make a leap. Some people are wondering because he's lost his OC, who he made those jumps, those first leaps under Shane Steichen now in Indianapolis. So some may think he's going to take a step back. But I am huge when it comes to quarterbacks. Character, work ethic, leadership, the mind, as he said, the intangibles. I'm huge on that because the best we've seen, Tom Brady and Joe Montana, that's what made them so great, that they had those intangibles. And I think Jalen Hurts has them as well. I think where he makes the biggest jump is the passing game. Now, he was fine last year. He didn't throw it as much as most of the top quarterbacks, but I think this year they probably will throw it a little more. I think they'll try to – he'll still run, obviously, but I think they'll try to throw it more. And I just think with his work ethic, obviously he's got one of the top receiving groups in the league. I think he's going to take that jump and move to the next level.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And he talked about being a triple threat. For me, when I look at Jalen Hurts, there's four thoughts that come to mind for me. Leadership just jumps off the page. Yep. Everything about him exemplifies what you want. He exemplifies how a player like Tom Brady did doesn't become complacent or settle for what they've just experienced.
Yeah. So I buy all of that, but I do not expect him to take another leap, but it almost sounds like it's because I think more highly of him. Like another leap is he's the best quarterback in the league. There's not a lot of room for him to go, guys. The five best quarterbacks in football are Patrick Mahomes, who is on a tier above everyone else. And then you can argue about the order, but Burrow, Hurts, Trevor, and Josh Allen. That's the rest of your top. Okay, you guys want to take out Trevor, that's fine. I don't want to argue about Trevor. But he's somewhere, we all agree he's in that room. Yeah. And some would argue he's already the second best. Some would say no, Burrow's ahead of him. I know some folks like Allen more than I think they're crazy. Whatever it is. There's not, his goal right now is to maintain. His goal right now, yes, you want to fine tune. Everybody wants to get better every day, all that stuff. But amongst the quarterback hierarchy is to make sure he doesn't backslide. That's to me where he's at. And I agree with everything you guys said about his mentality. The one thing I would add that I think he has as an edge, a physical edge on these other guys, is his raw strength, power, and toughness, and his ability to deliver, to sustain the running game because, he famously squats 600 pounds and all of those things. I also think the fact that his benching at Alabama is a odd mental benefit for him now, which is he dealt with a level of adversity that a lot of these top flight quarterbacks have never dealt with until they
winning a national championship.
Correct. Exactly. And adversity, what could have been embarrassment, and for a lot of guys, the first time they deal with something like that is at the NFL level. How are you going to? So all of those things, I'm not taking a shot at the guy. No. I just don't think I think he could be, I guess, universally considered the second best quarterback in the league after this season. But to me, that's not a big leap because some people already consider him the second best quarterback in football.
I think it's a big leap because, one, he's only done it at a great level for 1 year. So a lot of people do want to see you do it for 2 years. We've seen guys, we saw his predecessor, Carson Wentz, have a great year. He needs to do it for 2 years. And I think the passing can definitely improve. Now, maybe it'll just be because they're giving him more opportunities. Like we saw against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They needed him to throw
and that was
to
the best
stay
game
in
of
it,
his life.
And he threw it well. The first two playoff games, they were blowouts. They didn't need him to throw, so the numbers don't look good. So he can jump from, say, what he had, 22 touchdowns last year to between 25 and 30. I think that's a jump because he's a physical runner. He's not like Lamar, where Lamar's not a physical runner as far as taking shots and stuff like that. So they're going to want to, lessen the blows that he takes. Even though he's great at running the ball, they're going to want to throw it more, I believe. So I think that's how he can make a jump.
Greg, quickly before we move on to Dak, do you think Jalen's mindset protects them from the Super Bowl hangover?
100%.
You're saying it's off the board for Philadelphia?
When you have a guy walking in the building every single day working the way that he works, preparing himself as though last year it was cool, but we didn't accomplish anything that we set out to accomplish in terms of the ultimate goal. That's his mentality. You can't help but to follow suit and get in line with that.
I'll add one other thing. I also think Kelsey coming back, Jason.
Huge.
Because
Massive.
that's
Absolutely.
he's a future, I'm not even talking about his performance on the field, which is great. What I mean is he is one of the leaders of that locker room, a future Hall of Famer. And it's like, guys, I was contemplating retiring, going home with
because of this guy.
Because of this guy and for this team.
For one reason.
Yeah. And so I think that
outside of week one, I'm rooting for you, Jalen Hurts. Details. That sums up the new offensive philosophy now that Kellen Moore is gone and Mike McCarthy will be calling the plays. Michael Gallup told USA Today this is the first year he's had to, quote, key in on how many steps Dak is taking. And Dak says there's just a crazy amount of details. Guys are on the same page, just being very open and communicating, and that has been a world of difference. Greg, you found this article fascinating. Why?
A lot of reasons why. None more than number one. My number one takeaway is this: they should have been detailed. They should have been understanding the timing that it takes for a quarterback from a 3-step drop to a 5-step drop, 7-step action. But it also takes me all the way back to a few years ago when they had this one guy on their roster named Amari Cooper.
Loves Amari Cooper.
I do, because he was very detailed. This was never a conversation when Amari Cooper was in the building. Now you get a young CeeDee Lamb. He emerges. He's great.
Younger,
but younger. The number one thing you have to guard from as a receiver is quickening your route. Meaning, if I get leverage on a defender, I immediately break my route because I think, oh, I'm open. Well, this is what Schottenheimer, this is what Mike McCarthy and Dak are trying to prohibit those guys outside from doing, because what that does is it speeds up everything for Dak. He's now throwing when he doesn't really want to throw. The window is more condensed, and there's not that spacing that you naturally would have. Again, running routes in person versus seeing it drawn up on paper, two different things. It always fits against the perfect defense on paper. But when you are on field and a defender jumps or he doesn't go to the depth that you need, you got to make a decision. Are you going to cut that route short, or are you going to have route discipline and route integrity? That's what this article is exposing. These receivers in this room didn't have that route discipline and integrity to where it hurt Dak more than anything, because he was the one shouldering these interceptions, when in reality, it was a culmination of all of these guys.
I think that's a great point. I honestly was going to say the exact same stuff about the receivers, the depth. So Greg kind of stole my thunder there.
Greg,
so I'm going to
teammate.
I'm going to have this great job. I mean, you and I talked about this. I told you my opinion. Like, oh, okay, let me go first. Kind of weird. But to answer the question on the screen, is this year Dallas gets over the hump? If we define the hump as wins a Super Bowl, then I don't know. But I don't think,
how about that?
Again, Brew
that's
and
not the hump?
No, the hump is the thing they haven't gotten to in the last 27 years, which is the conference championship weekend.
That
literally
is
any other sport in college sports, Final Fours.
Is getting to the conference championship game would be satisfying for them?
It would be getting over the hump.
Having not gotten there.
Exactly.
And what do you get for that?
Hold on.
What do you get for
in the last 2 decades
hold on.
for the Cowboys.
You get nothing.
Okay, correct. But can I just say why? Whether we're talking about the conference championship game or the Super Bowl, either one, just set it aside, because you don't get much for making the Super Bowl and losing.
You do get a trophy.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. I think people have, again, tricked themselves into thinking the Cowboys were not awesome last year. They were. They lost their first game of the year. Mm-hmm. They then lost a game with a backup quarterback in. Mm-hmm. They then lost in overtime to Aaron Rodgers and in overtime to NFL royalty. And they lost in the final week of the regular season when they were playing for nothing. That's it. Then in the playoffs, how'd they do? They rolled Tom Brady in the final game of his career. And then they lost to a Niners team that, going into that game, had won 11 straight by an average of 17 points. And they lost by 7. That Niners team, from the time the Chiefs beat them until